Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the biggest trends right from the source. Today, we're digging way past the code, past the algorithms, to get to the massive physical world that actually makes this whole AI revolution possible. And it's a story that's not just about silicon, believe it or not. It's about steel, concrete, and an absolutely colossal amount of electricity.
Okay, let's just start right here, because this one idea completely flips the entire AI conversation on its head. We're shifting our focus from the flashy digital stuff to the gritty industrial foundation that it's all built on. You know, the old real estate mantra was location, location, location? Well, that's out the window. The new mantra for the AI age, it's megawatts, megawatts, megawatts. The real action, the real frontier for making money, is happening inside the most boring-looking buildings you could ever imagine, often in places like Northern Virginia, for one very specific reason. They have access to the grid.
So here's how we're going to unpack all of this. First up, we're going to tear down this myth that AI is just some kind of weightless digital phenomenon. Then, we'll get into the staggering physical scale it actually demands. After that, we're going to explore the brand new investment opportunities this creates. We'll look at the new power brokers. And finally, we'll get into the real-world boots-on-the-ground battles that are actually blocking AI's path forward.
Okay, let's dive right in. You know, when you ask a chatbot a question or you generate an image, it feels like magic, right? It's instantaneous. It feels like it's all happening in some ethereal digital space. But wow, that could not be further from the truth. This slide just lays it out perfectly. The myth versus the cold, hard reality. We love talking about the cloud, but what is it really? It's sprawling power grids. We talk about the beauty of the algorithm and the final inference step. That's just the moment the AI gives you an answer. But we totally forget about the millions of gallons of water needed to keep the servers from melting. It's not just software, it is fundamentally a business of atoms, and it completely depends on things like permits, zoning laws, and thousands of miles of fiber optic cable. The digital world has a very, very heavy physical footprint.
So let's talk about just how heavy that footprint is. The scale of this physical build-out is, well, it's almost hard to wrap your head around, but the numbers, they tell an incredible story. First off, the money behind all this is just staggering. By 2026, global spending on AI is projected to blow past $2.5 trillion. And listen, this isn't just money for software licenses. No way. This is a tidal wave of cash funding the actual concrete, the steel, the cables of this new AI empire. And all that cash, it's feeding an absolutely bottomless appetite for data centers. The source material says that by 2030, the amount of data center capacity we're going to need just for AI is going to increase by 3.5 times. We're not just adding a few server rooms here and there. We are literally building the digital equivalent of entire new cities just to house all these machines.
So here's the kicker. What do all those brand new city-sized data centers need more than anything else? Power, an astronomical amount of it. The projected power demand from AI is set to hit 156 gigawatts by 2030. And to put that in perspective, that's more electricity than many entire countries use today. These three numbers tell one clear story. A tsunami of money is funding a massive expansion that requires a nation's worth of new power.
And this chart, this just brings it all home. It shows you the real-world impact right at the local level. The power required to run just one of these advanced AI data centers can be comparable to the annual consumption of a small city. I mean, think about that. Every single time one of these new facilities comes online, it's like a whole new city is plugging into the grid, putting this immense strain on our existing infrastructure.
And you know, everybody's obsessed with the GPUs, the main chips. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. As you can see here, the AI economy is this incredibly complex ecosystem of specialized hardware. We're talking about things like liquid-to-chip cooling systems to handle insane amounts of heat, advanced memory and packaging to make chips work even faster, and of course, underpinning the whole shebang, you need gigawatt-scale power grids to even turn it on. Success in AI is a supply chain problem just as much as it's a software problem. So, with this massive physical demand, what does that mean for making money? Who's winning here? If building the AI future requires this much physical stuff, then the people supplying that stuff are sitting in a really, really powerful position.
And this brings us to a classic investment strategy that's just perfect for right now. It's called the picks and shovels play. Think back to the gold rushes in the 1800s. A lot of the people who got seriously rich weren't the miners risking their lives to find a few nuggets of gold. Nope, it was the merchants who sold them the picks, the shovels, and the blue jeans they needed to do the work. The same exact principle applies to AI today.
So that's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? If the AI model developers are the modern-day gold miners, Who's out there supplying all the essential tools? Who are the often overlooked companies that are absolutely critical to this entire enterprise?
Well, our sources point to 4 key areas that are just full of these enablers. You've got specialized thermal management companies dealing with that incredible heat. You've got the networking firms building the high-speed data highways. Then you have the power infrastructure itself, the utilities, and even specialized real estate investment trusts, or REITs, that own critical things like power substations. And finally, you have the big industrial construction companies that actually build and install these massive, complex facilities.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this represents a huge shift in the industry. For the last couple of years, the entire AI conversation was dominated by the chip shortage, right? Who can get enough NVIDIA GPUs? But according to the source material, that's not the main problem anymore. The real bottleneck, the primary constraint holding back the next phase of AI growth, has shifted from a lack of chips to a lack of power.
Now, this all sounds great in theory, right? Just build more power plants and more data centers, problem solved. Yeah, not so fast. Building this physical empire isn't as simple as buying hardware and leasing some land. This is where the digital revolution slams head-on into the messy, complicated, and often painfully slow reality of the physical world. One of our sources, a book on real estate, just nails it with this quote. This is the brutal truth of the matter. You can have the best AI model in the world and billions of dollars in funding, but if you can't get a permit from the local zoning board, none of it matters. The speed of software is hitting the brick wall of local bureaucracy.
The reality on the ground is a long, grueling obstacle course. First, developers have to fight tooth and nail just for basic zoning approvals to even build the thing. Then they have to negotiate these complex, multi-year contracts just to get a utility hookup. All of this while navigating intense local opposition from communities who are worried about everything from the constant noise of the cooling fans to the strain on their power grid. And on top of all that, they have to pass increasingly strict environmental assessments. This is the ground war for AI's future.
And this ground war creates a massive financial risk, what the sources call stranded capital. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Imagine a company spending billions of dollars on the latest AI chips, only to have them sit idle in a warehouse because they can't get the local permits to build a data center, or they can't secure enough power from the utility to turn them on. It's a very real and a very, very expensive possibility.
And this all leads us to a final provocative question that really reframes the entire AI race for the coming years. For the next decade, will the winners be the companies with the cleverest code, or will they be the ones who are best at navigating zoning laws, negotiating with utility companies, and securing access to the one resource that matters most, raw power? The future of AI might not be written in code. It might be decided by who wins the ground war.